Hi, Kelly here. Thanks for tuning in. Today I want to talk about the Nikon Z6 III, the things that I love about the camera, the things that I wish were maybe different, a few things that I don't like about the camera, and to answer that most important question at the end, given that there's a Nikon Z5 II now in the marketplace, would I still buy this camera? Okay, Nikon Z6 III, the things that I love about the camera. And by the way, these are just my opinions. I don't, you feel free to comment below if you agree or disagree or why. That'll be great. These are just my opinions. This is not intended to be an exhaustive menu by menu driven review. These are just the things that to me bubble up to the top as the things that are most important to me, the things that make the difference for me in using the camera, uh, the highlights, so to speak, according to me. Okay, let's get started. First off, ergonomics, size of the camera, absolutely love it. Weight, feel, grip, so good. The Z8 was too big for me personally. Um, a little too expensive. And the Z6 III just like fit the bill for everything that I was looking for. And I did buy it like the day it was announced. So the Z5 II wasn't actually available when I bought this camera. So ergonomic size, fantastic. Um, Inside X-Speed 7 processor and the partially stacked sensor, uh, there's many benefits to that combination, and I'll touch on some of them. But just the only thing that I'll note about the partially stacked sensor is I'm pretty sure, I'm almost certain. You can go back and look in my videos. I think I'm like the only person on YouTube who said that Nikon was going to release the Z6 III with a stacked sensor. Uh, Everybody else said it wasn't possible, um, except me, I think. Anyway, you can check that out if you want. But uh, they needed to because the R6 III, which I'll comment about in a minute, is coming out in another month or two, and it's going to be fully stacked based on the R3 sensor, and it's going to be a great camera. And this camera needed to be and will need to compete well with that camera from Canon. So that's why they had to do it. That's why I predicted they would do it, and that's why they did it. All right. Anyway, X-Speed 7, stack sensor, speed, focusing speed, everything is really great. A massive improvement over the Z6 II. That was actually another thing that I said Nikon should have done, and now they appear to be doing, which is they needed to come out with a really great processor and put it in every single camera from the very lowest end all the way to the top. And you can see Nikon doing that. That's what Canon did, by the way, with the Digic X processor. Uh, that's what Canon does, right? And Nikon is following suit, and I think that's smart, which is great. The other thing I love about the Z6 III is 3D tracking. Um, when I first got the camera, I was using auto area with people. I do shoot a lot of family events and kids and grandkids and people running around both indoor and outdoor. And I got good results, much better than the Z6 II from a keeper rate, but sometimes it wasn't quite what I was hoping for from a keeper rate. And I sent Nikon my camera and said, hey, can you just check and make sure that everything is like perfect with the camera? Because it's not what I expected. Meaning it didn't make sense, right? The camera would say it had focus and I would get it. It wasn't right on. The Nikon service people wrote me back and said, your camera's fine. But if you're taking picture of people who are moving around, we're not talking about portrait photography. We're talking about kids and family and in and out, right? Everybody's moving around. There's a lot of movement going on. They recommended that I try 3D tracking, and they said in the email it's more accurate. So, so I did, and my keeper rate went up. I love 3D tracking. I use it now for anything that moves, like anything that's moving, whether it's me, the camera, like if I'm taking wildlife and I'm on a boat and it's moving, I'm 3D tracking. If the subject is moving, I'm 3D tracking. If it's a person who's moving, 3D tracking. I use 3D tracking for everything. Uh, and so I love it. I just, it's great. And the results are fantastic too. And to go along with the 3D tracking, I love the electronic shutter. Um, the sensor readout speed of the Nikon Z6 III is 14.5 milliseconds. Now that's way slower than 4.5 of the Z8 and the Z9, but it's still very good, really good. In fact, I don't notice any rolling shutter for anything that I shoot with the electronic shutter, unless you're shooting like a golf swing or hummingbird wings or something really fast. I just don't see any rolling shutter issues with my pictures, and so I have moved to the electronic shutter for pretty much everything that I shoot, uh, including wildlife, right, and people and everything. So the combination of AFC, 3D tracking, uh, people detection or subject detection, and the electronic shutter for me is just like, it's just a game changer for me. It makes using the camera such a pleasure, and I love it. And I don't ever want to go back. I think I'll be using this camera for the rest of my life. And the electronic shutter is, there's no mechanics to it. There's no mechanical, there's no moving parts. It's just this sound. It's just, I, it's just great. It's great. Uh, I love it, and it makes like such a world of difference. Camera's fantastic. Um, Again, it's that combination of the X-Speed 7, the partially stacked sensor, 3D tracking, the software, the firmware, the electronic shutter, the speed of it. It's just great. I love it, and it's great. Next thing, battery life is really good. I have a few batteries, and I can just shoot whatever I need to shoot as long as I need to. I just battery life is really good. The files and the colors are fantastic. The EVF, the screen, the brightness, um, everything's just great about the camera. So those are the highlights, the things that stand out to me, the thing that make this camera, that make me super happy that I bought it. Now, a few things that I wish were different. Just a couple things. Um, the first thing that I want to discuss it, and the camera's gotten some kind of bad rap, not really deserving, but notable about the dynamic range. So let's talk about it. I did a whole video on dynamic range. You can go back and watch it. The dynamic range is not like a massive problem with the camera, but there's one little thing that I just have a question, and maybe you're watching, maybe you kind of have some insight into sensor design and things. Uh, but to put out a brand new camera that has lower dynamic range than the predecessor, which is actually I'm filming on now, the Z6 II, like I don't quite understand why you would design a sensor when you clearly have the ability to make it whatever you want, why you would put out a sensor that has less dynamic range than the previous camera, right? You're supposed to, technology is supposed to keep moving things forward, and apparently Nikon kind of cut some corners. Again, it doesn't affect me shooting, but just from a market share perspective, I just don't understand that. So maybe you know, maybe you got some insight. Share in the comments your thoughts on that. Again, it doesn't massively affect my shooting or anything like that. I will say when I'm doing like night shooting, Milky Way kind of shots, I use my Z6 II instead of this, just to make a note there. But anyway, so dynamic range is kind of a thing. I wish it was a little better. I will note that when the Canon R6 comes out, which from everything we hear, the Canon R6, I said R6, the Canon R6 III is going to be out in the next month or two. The sensor in the Canon R6 III is going to be based on the R3 from what we understand. And that is going to have a dynamic range 4.24 better than the Z6iii. So the Canon R6 III will have a dynamic range, expected dynamic range of 14.7, and the Z6iii is 10.46. So about four and a quarter difference. So when the Canon R6 comes out, you'll see that this whole dynamic range discussion will probably surface back up on the internet. So anyway, just make a note of that. I wish it was a little better just from a marketing perspective. And like I said, occasionally I kind of run into it, but it's not a big deal for me. The swivel screen. I like the swivel screen. I wish I kind of missed the old screen that I had on the R6 on the Z6 II. I kind of wish Nikon would just build a screen that does everything. Like, why wouldn't it do all three things? You know, kind of back, tilt up, tilt down, and swivel out. Like, why can't it do all three? Sorry, that's a movie quote. Anyway, it would be nice if it could do all three. That's just me. Another little thing, this is just such a minor thing, but I think Nikon should think about it. And that is the back screen. All the Nikons have this, by the way. The back screen has this big black border around it. And I don't understand that. I mean, in today's screen technology, I think that should be borderless. I think it should. I think people would like to see that because there's just all this real estate around that screen that's not being used. It just doesn't. It kind of doesn't make sense to me. So that's a little thing for you Nikon. You should think about that. There's no bird AF that came with this camera. I do shoot wildlife, and I would like to see that. And it's not a major problem. These are little things. We do hear that it's coming out by the end of the year. Seems a little late to me, but who knows whether that was a marketing thing or whether there was really something with the stack sensor that caused them to need to tweak the firmware, and that's what's delaying it. I don't know, but it'll be nice to see it when it comes out. The other thing, so the memory card door, you heard when a lot of people complained about the memory card door and the fact that you couldn't like open it with the little brackets that Nikon puts on the cameras, and everybody complained about that. It wasn't such a big deal for me when I first got it, but then I got the Peak Design clip-ons. Like, I'll never go back. These are just fantastic. That's not what this video is about, by the way. But I do love them. But now that I have these, I don't really care about the door. It's not a big deal. Okay. Now, a few things I dislike about the camera. Here we go. All right. VR. The VR is actually good. But the sound that it makes when you go in and out of the menu is kind of obnoxious. All I'm doing is clicking the menu. It's like, really? Now, I know the camera has like better VR than the Z6 II, which is great, but it's just kind of noisy. And then I saw on the menu here that there's something called silent mode. And silent mode, if you don't know what it does, silent mode actually, if you have VR on, it just leaves VR on and doesn't turn it off when you go into the menu. So if I turn silent mode on, VR is still on, but when I go into the menu, see here, go into the menu, no sound, which is fantastic. I mean, I'll just throw in another battery. Don't worry. Maybe they did this for battery reasons to save the battery. I'm not sure. But the only problem with the silent mode is that it turned off your shutter sound. Like, there's no shutter sound now. They're different things. So to me, that's just kind of annoying. I would love to be able to turn off the VR disengaged thing so that it's not noisy, but still have my shutter sound when I want it, which I can set the volume myself. So to me, that's just a firmware thing. I would love Nikon to separate those two things and not combine them because they're different things. So VR should be off or normal or sport, and some way to turn VR and engage, disengage on or off. But the shutter speed should be separate, and I should be able to set that. So that's a little annoying. For the viewfinder, there's an auto brightness setting for the viewfinder where your eye is. But there's no auto brightness setting for the monitor, the external monitor. And I don't understand that because, like, if you're going to need something to have auto brightness based on the ambient light where you are, you would think you would want it for the screen. Now, maybe I missed it in the menu. If I did, please put it in the comments, but I couldn't find it. So that was a little thing that I would love to, that kind of annoys me. Because if you need it, I was trying to show a picture to somebody the other day and it was so bright. I was like, whoa, wait, I've got to brighten the screen to show them. Anyway, it was annoying. To me, I think Nikon should hire some focus group people and rework their menu system. Now, I know people say like it's way better than Sony but to me, there's certain things that don't make any sense to me. Anyway, there's just some stuff that's kind of spread all over the place, and I wish Nikon would take a look at how people really use the menu system. I do certainly like the menu shortcuts, and I put pretty much everything into the shortcuts, and that helps a lot. But I think Nikon should improve their menu system a little bit. That's just me. Okay, a few things that I would love Nikon to do. I've kind of already mentioned I would love to see Bird AF. I know it's coming, but it would be great to get that. While they're doing firmware update, maybe that product mode would be kind of cool from the Z5 II if they add that in. I would just love to enable shutter sounds in silent mode. That's huge for me. I think it would be cool if if photographers could upload their own shutter sounds. I think that'd be fun. And auto brightness of the monitor. So there's a few things. I would love to have and this is not a firmware thing, but maybe Nikon can eventually get a screen that does all the features and functions up, down, tilt, swivel, and out. That would be great. They should get rid of this little black border on the screen here. I don't know why they don't use all the real estate on the screen. I think that would be cool. And this is just something that I'm throwing this in. I would love to see a Z32 rangefinder camera that has a rangefinder in it, right? Not just the back screen, with really good, well-built buttons for back button focusing and some other things, not cheap buttons. Like, put out a really robust, small Z32 based on the X-Speed 7 Z mount would be a really sweet camera. Just for travel, that would just be great, I think. Anyway, small thing there. All right, if I had to choose to finish up here, would I still buy the Nikon Z6iii today? And I honestly, I think the answer to that question is yes. I would spend the extra $800 to get the Z6iii if it were me today, knowing what I know about the Z5 II. I don't have one. The things that tip it in the Z6iii's favor for me, just for me, is the partially stacked sensor and the faster the electronic shutter. I don't ever want to go back on that. So that alone probably is the biggest thing. Just the speed of the focusing, no rolling shutter, electronic, silent, no mechanical. I just love all of that. It makes it so much of a pleasure of shooting, and it's just once I've spent all this time shooting with the electronic shutter, doing this just. I can feel the camera. It's just, there's a lot of movement there. Like, why? Just stay with the electronic shutter. Enjoy the simplistic sound of just electronic shutter. It's great. So for me personally, um, I would still want to have the Z6iii, I think. Well, and plus I've got a Z6 II, which I'm filming on now, with a 40 millimeter f2. By the way, I love this lens. I thank you. I love this for filming. For videos, it's great. I have the Z6 II, and I would use that for like nighttime photography. I'm getting ready to go out to Utah in a few months, and I think I'm taking the Z6 II with me because it's all good. I mean, night photography, landscape, all that. I'm gonna leave the Z6iii at home because it's not about people. It's not about fast moving things. It's all going to be about landscapes and night photography. And I think I'll probably just take the Z6 II for that. So anyway, I hope that answers your question on that. Hopefully this was helpful. If you like these kind of videos, please subscribe, like, and please share if you think there's other people, maybe they're in the market still trying to make that decision. Do I spend the extra 800 or and don't get me wrong, the Z5 II is a fantastic camera, and I would probably recommend it to anybody who's just getting started out. There's just a few things for me that kind of lean me towards the Z6iii. So anyway, appreciate your time. Please like, subscribe, as I said, and share the video, and we will catch you the next time around.